Hey, what's going on, everyone? Justin here, and in this video we're going to be doing my September book haul, and part of the reason is I took a month off, so I'm behind on my staple videos, but I'm also not combining with October. First, because it'd be really long, because, 2 months of book hauls is a lot of books for me, but also, all my October books were from, like, a single source, so I kind of want to keep that one as a kind of a special thing, but let's just go ahead and get started. So first up, we got Sounds, Wild and Broken by David George Haskell, and the subtitle is Sonic Marvels, Evolution's Creativity in the Crisis of Sensory Extinction. I've read one of his other books, and this one here was either I think it was shortlisted for the Pulitzer Prize, and this is The Forest Unseen, which is kind of a year-long sort of meditation, like it's one of those like nature memoirs where you kind of describe and muse on like the your kind of like little local landscape or your yard or whatever it is. It's super fantastic, so I kind of want to get going and reading like a whole bunch of his books. In this book, I think I love how I got two other books for the first book here. I did recently read Sing Like Fish, how sound rules life underwater by Amarina Kingdon, and I feel like this is like kind of a similar book where this is all about noise pollution and sounds and soundscape of underwater ecosystems. I feel like this is gonna be kind of the same thing, but more for like all kinds of ecosystems, if that makes sense. So there's gonna be a lot of biology, I have a feeling, with kind of like the auditory senses and everything, but also dealing with noise pollution and how that actually affects lots of different animals in lots of different ways. Obviously, kind of like some of the bigger ones that you always hear about are urban dwelling birds having to change the pitch of their songs and calls and everything to be heard kind of over the din and cut through, like all the traffic noise and ambient, just like city noise and everything like that. But also just look at that lovely cover with the frogs there. But like I said, I think it's going to be kind of a more encompassing thing dealing with, kind of, like I said, the auditory sense. So, like I said, don't really know a whole lot about it, but it's got tons of really good recommendations on the back. Granted, like I said, he's already like pretty well known, so like when I see his his blurb on the back of another book, that's probably a good thing as well. Next up is a history book that I kind of wanted to get to, kind of as a combination of Historathon and the Science Reading Challenge, and it's Einstein by Walter Isaacson, his life and universe. I haven't read any of Isaacson's stuff, though I've had several people tell me that already knew I got this book and everything, that he does kind of take some of his subject matter and put it on a really, really high pedestal, which I think is kind of a trend with a lot of like big name biographers. Probably most famously, his most recent book was Musk. He's also written one on Edison. He's done quite a few. I have heard that the science is really good, like the explanation of like Einstein's like theories of relativity and things are described very well for the lay reader and stuff. So like I said, I've heard kind of good things and bad things, so this might be like the first, hopefully it's not the first and only one I read of Isaacson, but like I said, it is kind of a thicker book, and I was kind of hoping to read it last month, which was kind of the astronomy and physics kind of themed month for my science reading challenge. Didn't quite get to it, but we shall see. Okay, so next up we have Carlo Rovelli's Anaximander and the Birth of Science. This was my first book from Rovelli, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I have another one coming up right here, but I plan on reading pretty much his entire bibliography at this point now. Obviously, this book is not like literally just about Anaximander. It's definitely more of a musing on the philosophy of science and that kind of thing. But dealing with a lot of, just because like, Anaximander's stuff hasn't come down to us and everything we know about him and his like theories and teachings and everything, we could probably write in like a short chapter. But just kind of some of his broader outlines and its implications. Like, for example, Anaximander, was probably the first person that was like, Earth is just, it's not, in the abyss or whatever, like just sitting there, like it is like suspended in space, it's in the void or whatever, and it is like a thing there. And he was kind of getting on to some of those kind of like different kind of ideas on like atomism as well, which I find really interesting, especially for like, writing, 500 BCE and that sort of thing. But I feel like Rovelli, especially being like translated out of the Italian, He's a theoretical physicist, but the writing is just really beautiful. I just thoroughly enjoy it. Like I said, it's more of a philosophy of science kind of take on things, and I think it's going to pair really well with his next one here. There are places in the world where rules are less important than kindness, and other thoughts on physics, philosophy, and the world. So this sounds like another kind of more like I said, musings on just kind of the idea and the joy of science, why it's important, kind of in the broader sense. But you definitely kind of do some like little vignettes and deep dives into some different, or at least we did with this book, kind of more like, you know, actual scientific principles and why they're important and kind of their evolution over time and stuff. This one sounds like it's actually taken, you know, more of that philosophical kind of meandering like to the next level, which I'll probably really enjoy as well. I'm starting to really enjoy philosophy of science kind of work, so I'm hoping this one pans out as well. And like I said, he's got like a whole bunch of ones. He's got a book on like white holes, I believe, and several others that people have just really enjoyed. Okay, so this was the one I really... Oh, no, there's two. Okay, so I really should have got to this one as well at some point. I really should read it at some point before the end of the year, and it's Thomas Kuhn's The Structure of Scientific Revolutions. This is the 50th anniversary edition, so it has an extra introductory essay by Ian Hacking. And this is a seminal work in philosophy of science. I think this came out in the 60s, and his whole big shtick here was scientific thought goes in like really big kind of revolutionary like overthrow like time periods, if that makes any sense. There's a big like, I don't know, general idea, you know, that science and technology or whatever kind of progresses, you know, like either like a staircase or a nice like diagonal line, you know, just steadily kind of just keeps going up and up year over year. But Kuhn is like, no, basically what happens is, you know, something like a revolution happens, like a big idea happens, and you go like just way up, and then you kind of plateau for a little while until, you know, the next revolution happens, and the next kind of just cycle of thought occurs, and people are able to jump like way ahead. And I don't, like I said, I don't know all the nitty gritty perspectives like on that, but like I said, this is like one of the seminal works of like 20th century books on philosophy of science. I also have Karl Popper's the law. Was it? Jeez, I have it somewhere right here. The logic of scientific discovery somewhere down there. So I need to get to that one too. Maybe I'll plan on like kind of reading them back to back, see if that like kind of helps me out and that kind of thing. But we shall see. I did pick up two philosophy books when I was in a used bookstore. This one is Habermas, a very short introduction. This one is by James Gordon Finlayson. And I really enjoy collecting these Oxford very short introductions. I really should do a video. Just let me know down below if you want me to do a video just on the Oxford VSIs that I've read and collected like over time. And honestly, I don't know anything about Jürgen Habermas, which is what the book is all about, except that he's like a super prolific German philosopher of the 20th century. He's still alive. I think he's like he's probably closing in on 100. But he wrote a bunch of like stuff in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and it's still actually kind of going strong-ish from what I understand. He's got like over 100 like books to his name. But I don't know anything about him, so when I saw this book, I was like, you know, what better short introduction to Jürgen Habermas than, you know, the Oxford VSI for it. One that I do have some familiarity with is After Virtue by Alistair MacIntyre. There is a third edition, technically, since this one was published. I assume that's probably just another, like, kind of essay kind of thing at the beginning or whatnot. I'll have to look up if the third edition really, like, actually changes the text a lot. But I love virtue ethics. You know, you have utilitarianism, you got, like, deontology with, like, Immanuel Kant and stuff. And there's also virtue ethics, which I think is starting to kind of make a comeback. But that's definitely the one I kind of personally ascribe to and really enjoy, and kind of, like, if I had to, like, pick something, that's what it is. And I've only read little short fragments out of this book way back in college, but I'm hoping I'm at the level, the intellectual level, enough to understand a little bit what's kind of going on once I decide to tackle it. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure when I will, but obviously I know it deals with virtue ethics and that kind of thing. and like I said, I'm hoping I can just like understand it and, you know, come away like with a better appreciation of why I like virtue ethics the best. Next up is the physics book that I thought was up next to my pile that I really needed to get to. Like I said, last month was October was my physics month for the science reading challenge. And this is The Elegant Universe by Brian Greene. Let's see, Superstrings, Hidden Dimensions, and the Quest for the Ultimate Theory. This was super crazy popular when it came out, I think, in like 98 or 99. This is the, oh, I guess I don't have the 25th anniversary edition. There was I did see a 25th anniversary edition somewhere. But this was like the big deal, like I said, when it first came out. It was one of the first like kind of popular science books dealing with, you know, string theory and that kind of like portraying it to the masses and everything like that. So I kind of wanted to get it just because I don't know a whole lot about like kind of the, once you get to more like the theoretical physics kind of stuff. I did listen to The World According to Physics by was it Jim Al-Khalili? I think that was his name. Hopefully if I remember that correctly. Really enjoyed it, and I feel like this was almost kind of like the precursor to that one. So yeah, like I said, just kind of brushing up on like understanding like the big concepts in physics, because that's just like not my forte. But I wanted, like I said, expand on different things. And then lastly, we have Richard Feynman's 6 Easy Pieces, Essentials of Physics Explained by Its Most Brilliant Teacher. And Feynman was kind of like the Neil deGrasse Tyson of his day, like in the 70s and stuff. He was, you know, like I said, just kind of the science communicator, like, you know, the popular, or he wrote more academic stuff and some popular science stuff as well for the general population. So like it's going to be interesting kind of comparing popular science writing today to like what kind of Feynman did and everything. But apparently he was a really cool guy. He has tons of stories and anecdotes, and just can really communicate, you know, ideas from physics. I feel like I got a lot of theoretical physicists in this pile. It's at least like 3 between Brian Greene, Rovelli, and Feynman now. So that was kind of an very science-heavy month, but only like one actual biology book. So that's kind of different for me. But like I said, I've been kind of consciously trying to get more physics books, more like other sciences that I don't really read. Just to kind of like round out my science knowledge and everything like that. So I'm really looking forward to this. Plus I love the cover, and Basic Books like reprinted like most of his works. I think there's like 6 or 7 in this kind of style. So if I enjoy this one, I plan on just like collecting like that whole like kind of like mini set and seeing what it's all about. And this book is all about, I think, 6 different like physics concepts and like physics problems, and he kind of just explains it just like a school teacher, almost like lectures and like or lecture notes or something like that, with diagrams and everything. I think there was someone I flipped through it, maybe not. Yeah, there's like different charts, and this person like took notes. I love how I said there's like charts, there's a couple like little illustrations and diagrams and that kind of thing. But like I said, hopefully I take away a lot and actually can understand some physics stuff going on there. So there you have it. Those are the books that I picked up in September. Very kind of different science than I normally read, for sure. If you can remember what your favorite book that you picked up in September is, leave it down below. I'm always on the lookout for great recommendations, that sort of thing. We'll be doing the October one coming up real soon, but until then, always remember, whatever you end up reading, read victoriously.